Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to January 9th, 2024's Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Apologize for the delay. Thank you for being patient. Ms. Cobb, would you please call roll?
Richard Eslick.
Here.
Shantae Hall.
Here.
Corey Carnegie.
Here.
Melissa Venable.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Terrific. In review of December 12th, 2023's meeting minutes, are there any corrections? If none, can I just take a verbal roll call? Please say yay if you accept them.
Yay.
Yay.
All right, we have accepted minutes from last month, December 12th. Moving on to our first public hearing, BZA 36-2023, 401 Spruce Street by Steve Daniels. Ms. Cobb, would you please read the caption?
Sure. Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 36-2023. The applicant, Steve Daniels, is requesting a variance to reduce the required side yard setback adjacent to a street from 25 feet to 5 feet and the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet in order to construct a new single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map 34G24, parentheses 3, parentheses 3, star 9, addressed as 401 Spruce Street, zoning classification, residential medium density RM. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a request to reduce the required side yard setback adjacent to a street from 25 feet to 5 feet and the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet in order to construct a new single-family dwelling. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We will now have staff report and analysis read by Melvion Knight, Assistant Zoning Administrator.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, secretary, visitors, guests, and staff. My name is Melvion Knight, and I am the Assistant Zoning Administrator for the City of Suffolk. I will be presenting staff report BZA 36-2023, submitted by applicant Steve Daniels for 401 Spruce Street. The applicant, Steve Daniels, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, Article 4, Section 31-407, parentheses C, Table 407-1, parentheses L, dimensional standards, to reduce the required side yard setback adjacent to a street from 25 feet to 5 feet and the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet for construction of a single-family dwelling. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 34G24, parentheses 3-9, located at 401 Spruce Street, Suffolk, Virginia. Wellerville Voting Borough, zoning classification RM, residential medium district. The variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to the adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. A public notice sign was posted on the property pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator. The applicant states that the RM zoning district setbacks will now allow for development of the proposed 20-foot wide by 30-foot long single-family dwelling at the location of 401 Spruce Street. The dimensional requirements for newly platted lots in the residential medium zoning district requires for total lot land area of 10,000 square feet with a minimum frontage of 60 and a minimum lot width of 80 feet when measured at the front setback line. The property calculates to 2,850 square feet in land area, which is non-conforming when compared to the minimum requirements of the residential district. According to the exhibits shown, the property will not support a 20-foot wide single-family dwelling. Under Section 31-801, parentheses E, parentheses 1A3 of the Unified Development Ordinance, it allows for the zoning administrator, to grant up to a 30% reduction on the front, side, or rear setbacks on substandard lots. Unfortunately, the reduction for the request exceeds the 30% allowance for an administrative variance. The RM zoning district will not support the construction of the single-family dwelling on the substandard lot. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request. As you see on the exhibit that's shown here on the monitors, it shows a enlarged scale of the survey that was submitted and it shows an overlap of the 10-foot requirement for the RM district, as well as the 25-foot side yard setback when adjacent to the street. So according to the exhibit and the information that's been compiled, it shows that the entire property would be non-compliant when it comes down to the RM standards. So the approval of the request would allow for the construction of the 20-foot wide structure to comply with the standards if the side yard setbacks were reduced to 5 feet on the portion adjacent to the street, as well as the interior lot line. Staff has concluded their presentation, and also the property owner is available for question for the board if you may have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Melvion. We will now open our public hearing. Hearings are 30 minutes in length, 10 minutes for the proponents, 15 minutes for the opposition, and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Steve Daniels, and of course, I'm a Suffolk resident. We're looking to go ahead and be able to build another one on the street. We're in the middle of doing a lot of work down there, making huge improvements. This neighborhood is definitely on the way up, and the new construction is the part that's driving it. I'll be available for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, is there any opposition? Mr. Daniels, is there anything you'd like to add? No. Okay, thank you so much. That closes this public hearing. I did want to note, and I was glad to see this, that Van Buren Street has a 60-foot right-of-way set forth, so if there were road improvements, they wouldn't have to cut into this lot or try to get into this lot. That's a fairly substantial right-of-way, assuming the survey is correct. So I thought that was a good note to add. Are there any comments, questions, or motion?
Motion for approval is one right across the street from it and right diagonal on the other side of it also. And then also, well, we're going to not talk about the fence thing, but he knows about, he have to, if he decide to do a fence, he will have to do it just like the one that's across the street, the lower fence. That way they can see around, coming around the corner.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I noted, I was, only had a chance to look at it on the aerial maps, but noted that you had 2 other homes in close proximity, and they were very nice-looking homes.
Motion for approval.
So we have a motion for approval by Mr. Carnegie
I'll second.
and a second from Mr. Eslick. Any conversation on the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Cobb, would you please call for the vote?
Richard Eslick,
Yes.
Shante Hall,
Yes.
Corey Carnegie,
Yes.
Melissa Venable.
Yes.
The motion carries 4-0.
Congratulations, and like you've done with the fencing on the other properties, as Mr. Carnegie was noting, obviously we want that to conform as well, but congratulations and thank you. I don't believe we have any additional anything, but we do have a meeting next month, and we didn't want to put these together because we wanted to come see you guys, so thank you. That concludes our meeting.